Could There Be Life Outside of Earth? By Andre von Barker. Now, before we deeply discuss this topic, we have to be able to understand one simple thing. What is life? Life is the quality of being animated and being able to multiply. It can range from little things such as microorganisms, like bacteria, to big multicellular organisms, like tigers. Now that we know what life is, we face another problem, and that is, how does life begin? Life starts as a unicellular organism. For these to appear, there need to be some must-have qualities in the planet. These are water, oxygen, a source of energy, and a warm temperature. If any of these qualities are lacking, then there can be no life. Now that we know what life is and how it begins, we can look at some places where there could be a possibility of life within our solar system. The first place that we're going to look at is, yep, you guessed it, Mars. The first thing we have to do to decide that there could be life on Mars is to check to see whether it ticks all the boxes on how life begins. To begin with, we will check to see whether Mars has water. Now, believe it or not, billions of years ago, a fifth of Mars was covered in a large ocean. Here is an artist's depiction of what it may have looked like. You may be wondering, if Mars was covered in all that ocean billions of years ago, where has all the water gone now? The answer is quite simple. A widely accepted theory as to where all the water has disappeared to is that it has gone down into the subsurface of Mars, where it has then been frozen into ice. Therefore, Mars has had water. However, there is not any liquid water in the present, which eliminates all chance of life at this current point of time. But there is still a strong possibility that there could have been life in ancient Mars. Now we must look at the second must-have aspect of life, which is oxygen. As we have just discovered, Mars has had water. The chemical makeup of water is H2O, which means 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Therefore, Mars does have oxygen. However, there is only oxygen in the oceans of Mars, which eliminates all chance of land animals. However, there is still a possibility of sea animals and bacteria within the ocean. So Mars has had the first 2 out of 4 required aspects of life. But now let's move on to the third essential feature, which is energy. Mars is the 4th planet from the Sun, which means it gets a fair bit of heat energy from the Sun, very similarly to how we get it on Earth. The Sun would be the main, if not only, contributor to energy on Mars. However, you do only need one source of energy. Therefore, Mars does have a good, reliable source of energy. The 4th and final indispensable aspect of life is a warm temperature. The current Martian atmosphere is 100 times thinner than our atmosphere on Earth, meaning that the heat can't be trapped and saved anymore. We know that at one point, Mars was completely covered in a large ocean, which means that the temperature would have had to be somewhere between 0 and 100 degrees Celsius. Otherwise, either the water would have frozen into a solid ice form, or boiled into a steamy gas form. Therefore, Mars at one point had a temperature that was warm enough to sustain life. So Mars has at one point had all the required aspects of water, oxygen, energy, and a warm temperature to sustain life at one point in time, but it can definitely not sustain life nowadays. Now let's look at some opportunities for life going away from our solar system. Since we can't send spacecraft to investigate these planets outside of the solar system, astronomers have to find planets within the habitable zone of stars, as shown by the graph. When looking at these planets within the habitable zone, astronomers can actually detect and analyze the atmosphere of the planet. They do this by detecting the light from the star traveling through the planet's atmosphere. Using this information, they are then able to create a diagram of what the planet would look like. This is called spectroscopy. Astronomers have actually found some planets that are ideal for hosting life, like this one in the background. However, with not enough evidence to prove that there could be life, we can never be sure of these planets playing host to a form of life. In summary, the only thing we know for sure is that us on Earth are the only living things in the universe, even though there is strong evidence to suggest that there could have been ancient life on Mars and life in other solar systems. We can't be sure. However, it would be small-minded and ignorant of someone to think that us Earthlings are the only living things in this big universe. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed my video.